everybody. Kevin Crouch here with South Metro Weather, and we have storms coming through. The good news is, though, these are not severe storms. They are more relaxed, more garden variety storms. We are looking at some stronger storms south of us, but here in our area, nothing really terrible going on. It's funny. I've had more people get confused because there were storms moving through, but I wasn't live. And traditionally, we have saved live coverage for when there are severe storms moving through. But we're kind of in a situation where we have storms coming through, but they're not terribly intense at this point. And what's interesting is we have this little outflow boundary, and I'm curious to see how this outflow boundary will influence things. And it looks like we have northeast winds coming in behind that boundary. And so I'm curious to see what will happen when these two come together. Will that sort of stabilize the air? And has it stabilized our air to where these storms will almost continue to? It looks like they're already weakening some as they're moving through. But for the stronger storms and even a severe thunderstorm warning, you got to go down to central Texas. This is meteorologist Conley Isom's area. So if you are in this area wondering what your weather is doing, tune in there. I know that pretty crazy stuff going on in Killeen. Not too crazy, but it's noisy down there. You can see all of that lightning going on with that storm. But for our area, there really isn't much. So I've had a few people tell me, hey, we'd love for you to, go ahead and cover storms coming through, even if they're not severe. So I thought I would give that a shot and see maybe what we could do with maybe a more relaxed live stream here. But what we have coming in really isn't very impressive. And we're going to have more rain this evening. Let's see, Brandon Young, you're camping in Whitney, hoping no hail or anything to really worry about. Brandon, not likely. It's going to get a little windy, and there's going to be some lightning with this. Now, down farther south, there is a storm moving through McLennan County right now. I don't think that we really have to worry about any hail with that. Might be some gusty winds with that storm, but hail-wise, there might be a little bit of small hail there. But I'm really not expecting a whole lot, but that's going to be headed to the northeast. And, it's always funny to kind of have the conversation of what direction is it going. You can see the individual cells are moving northeast, but the whole system is moving eastward. I say that. The whole system's kind of moving, this band is moving eastward, I will say. The whole system itself, if we kind of zoom out and look at the bigger picture, this whole system is farther east of us and is generally tracking kind of north-northeast. So tomorrow, we're going to be possibly getting more kind of the backside of this as this goes through. And so depending on where that tracks, if that does get closer to our area, we could have more storms at very least tomorrow morning, maybe tomorrow afternoon. I can show you what the kind of the NAM model has shown with that. Actually, let's go ahead and show the HR. We're only getting a partial 0Z run with that. But for tomorrow, you can see where that model almost has a mesoscale convective vortex forming off of this. And so you can see the line moving through. The problem is that the high resolution rapid refresh is kind of behind on this. It doesn't have the main line coming through until midnight tonight. So it's behind already. And so we'll see what happens. We may have a little disturbance coming through tomorrow, bring some storms in the afternoon. But realistically, I have storms possible for the next 7 days. Even down to, hey, there might be a stray shower or two in the afternoon. We're getting closer to summer. And in the summertime, of course, that's when we have those patterns where you can just have little pop-up, I call them popcorn storms, where they just kind of pop up and blow through and take a few minutes and then they're gone, right? It's just enough to kind of shut down the cookout and jump in from the pool, those kind of things. And then by the time you do all of that, it's gone and it's just frustrating. So those are the kind of the storms that we're looking at, possibly impacting our area through the next several days, and mostly in the afternoons. Well, we have somebody who's ready for his little few minutes of fame. I had so many people asking about the weather cat, and he is actually in here today. So I want to make sure that he gets a chance to. This guy gets. I think he's more popular than I am, to be honest with you. There are people who I can be on the air, and people are asking where the weather cat is, and are so bummed when he's not here. And to tell you the truth, this guy, I've almost had to ban him from the studio, at least during, storm events, because he's too busy. Um, really? Move the tail. He's too busy walking on equipment because he knows that if he walks on the equipment, he'll get some attention. Granted, it's bad attention, but I don't think he cares about the difference. Rogue Gaming on YouTube. Quick question. I've been hearing about a possible Omega block setup in the next 7 to 10 days. Yeah, I mean, it's possible. I don't know that it doesn't look like that setup is going to impact us as much. It looks like the resulting ridge. I don't think that's going to stop our rain chances. And usually, when you have that Omega block setup, that's kind of one of the things we see during the summer that shuts down the rain and just brings in the hot weather. But I don't necessarily see that being the case here. It looks like we'll still have some disturbances coming through. So I'm hesitant to forecast anything too specific with that. As we get into the next couple of months, severe weather season will slow down, and all of the guys that make all of their money strictly by social media ad performance, which is your likes and your shares and these kinds of things, your engagement, right? They are going to start working harder to find things to promote, because there's not going to be as much severe weather. And that's just one of those things. So they kind of have to keep the momentum going. The good news is that this is a brand that is not strictly dependent on that. Sure, we benefit from it, but this is not a brand that is wholly dependent. So we don't have to start desperately looking for every little buzzword and every little trend to try to promote to get our word out there and to get all that ad sharing. So, I mean, I'm not saying that an Omega block pattern can't impact your weather. It absolutely can, and it's sometimes worth talking about. But I don't think we're quite to that point yet. I don't think we're quite to the point where it's going to make that much of an impact. It's also something I need to fix there. I'm gonna have to work on that. Um, this cat, I tell you, this guy is just all about the attention right now. Why? Oh, really? Oh, now you're gonna lick me? Now you're all happy? Now, why are you biting me? What are you doing? So the storms that are moving in, as I mentioned, they're not really severe. I'm not expecting that. But I am curious to see what happens as this alpha boundary is now pushing farther west. It was largely stationary for a while, but it is making more westward progress, going to collide with this line. Now, what we are seeing is the closer it gets, just south of Cleburne, seeing some new storm development here. So that alpha boundary may put some extra lift out there. We may get some new storms. But I'm curious to see what happens as the line moves into the areas already covered by that boundary, because it does look like there's northeast winds. So there could be more stable air in those areas. I mean, you can see this line is already weakening here. But, will it recycle over our area? That is a possibility. Okay, dude, I am working. I can't pay all the attention to you, kiddo. This storm down in McLennan County still bringing a lot. Hi. This I wit. You can't see this, but NF speed on YouTube, odd movement. I mean, it's not really odd movement. I mean, the outflow boundaries go whatever direction they want to. They're not really governed by, the overall flow of the storm system. They're going to go whatever direction the airflow is moving outside of that storm that generates it. And those were storms farther to the east that generated it. So, their area of least resistance for them was to go back behind the storm, which is westward. AD Jones, anything happening on Thursday that you can see? I'll be driving east then. Thursday, if you mean tomorrow, or not tomorrow, Thursday. I'm already trying to get to the end of the week. Thursday, there may be some storms on Thursday. It doesn't look too widespread, but here's the thing. It's hard to say, oh, it's going to be a handful of storms, because if a handful of storms create outflow boundaries, that can almost double the coverage in a hurry. So storms are possible on Thursday. It's not going to be anything like this, I don't think, but there could be some scattered storms mixed in. And Alexandria, yes, it looks like Arlington is going to get wet. I think all of our area is going to get rain from this. If you look at this line, this is not localized by any means. This is a pretty widespread area. Jacob Henderson, is there supposed to be anything bad for Aubrey? Here's the thing. Everybody's definition of bad weather is different. So what I can tell you is there's not severe weather. So if that's your definition of bad weather, then no. I'm not expecting any severe weather. But there could be, some noise with these storms. But overall, I'm not expecting anything severe out of this. We'll take a look at the Glen Heights Canberra here, the Glen Heights cyclone port, and we can definitely see those dark clouds in the distance. Nothing severe out of this. And you can see that outflow boundary. You can see those bubbled up clouds ahead of the main complex here, and a little bit of a gust of wind there shaking the camera. We'll take a look at the velocity. I'm curious to see what it's showing the winds doing. A couple of things. You can see the outflow boundary there, but you can see some winds moving through, but nothing too crazy. So we're looking at really two outflow boundaries. Look at this. You can see one that jumped out in front of these storms. That's probably what generated the new storms near Cleburne. And then you have the westbound boundary. So those are colliding right now. And it'll be interesting to see what those do. But yeah, this outflow out ahead of the line, you can see that. It's that outflow, what that does, and you can see it kind of going ahead of the line here. What that does is that's what keeps these linear complexes going for such far distances, because you have a line that generates an outflow boundary, and then that will kind of weaken the line because it's not getting inflow anymore, but then that generates its own lift, and that creates a new line, and that process is cyclical. It just keeps going. Lisa Allen, nothing severe expected tonight. At least not right now. There's some heavier storms in McLennan County going towards southern Bosque and Hill counties, but it's a loud storm for sure, but I'm not expecting that to be severe. There are some flood advisories farther south down towards Killeen Temple, that area, Belton as well. And, I think that there could be some flooding issues, particularly with this heavier rain. We saw yesterday how quickly that storm just dropped inch after inch of rain, just incredible rain rates. So the good news is, though, that, it looks like this is all just regular rain. What is the cat doing back there? You're making a lot of noise. You're too loud. The cat will take any attention he can get, even if it means making a bunch of noise. But we do have some new development. If you look at Johnson and Hill counties here, new development of storms out ahead of that where those alpha boundaries converged. So we'll see what those do. But the good news is, I mean, we're cooling down, and it looks to me like the air is more stable behind where that outflow boundary was. Now, it may not be enough to negate new storm development, but I would say it doesn't look very likely at this point that we're going to have any kind of severe weather for our area. It does look like we'll get away with just some garden variety storms. Could be noisy, could be loud. It's going to be some heavy rain here and there, but not a big deal. Thank you, Jonathan, for the Venmo. Greatly appreciated there. Um, what is never expected, always appreciated. It's always great to get that support. This is as I've told people, this is my full time job, and being self employed is rough sometimes. But your support is always appreciated. It's really humbling, truthfully, how generous. And I go about town and people come up and shake my hand and tell me how this brand has impacted them, and it really does. I mean, it puts a little extra pep in my step because sometimes this job is tough. The long hours, the late nights, all that good stuff. As I tell people, the late nights, the early mornings, the late nights that turn into early mornings, where the sun's coming up and you're going, oh, I watched that go down, and had a full day ahead of it. It's tough sometimes, but it really does. It really is encouraging when I hear the stories of how this brand has helped people out. So not much going on right now, just watching some new development in Johnson and Hill counties. And then here in McLennan County, this is really the strongest storm we have right now. And it's not severe at this point, but it is headed towards Southern Hill County. So right up 933 there is going to be the heaviest part of that storm, right over, just about right over the Brazos River, towards maybe Lake Whitney, maybe closer to Aquila Lake there. Is that right? Am I saying that right? Aquila Lake? Hopefully I'm saying that right. Of course, I'm sure depending on who you ask, there might be different pronunciations. I'll tell you, why don't we do this? Why don't we I guess I forgot to do this at the top. If you'll give me just give me a roll call of where you're watching this from, because I always pick up new areas every time we do a live stream, especially a big live stream. But it always helps me to kind of show where is this brand reaching. I've been hearing more and more people tuning in from the Metroplex, from farther south, and it's always a good sort of barometer. Pun not really intended. Uh, of where things stand. Why are you making so much noise? This cat is literally sitting here looking out the window, and I don't know. Since this is a less formal, live stream, I'll tell the story. It's a funny story, but there is a cat in our neighborhood, a white cat, that I'm about 99% sure is, I think he's related to Tiger, who's the weather cat. And he was born here on our property from a stray cat that we took in. I didn't know she was pregnant. Surprise. But she had 3 kittens, and unfortunately, the Tiger was the only one left after some unfortunate turnout. But so Tiger has been here literally all of his life, and but there's a cat that started coming around, a white cat that, I mean, you look him in the face and they look just alike. And they both do this thing where when they curl around, they both grab their back foot. And it's a mannerism that both of them do, and I've only seen them do it. I haven't seen other cats do that, and our other cats don't do that. So anyway, they have a whole big, turf war, and that's why Tiger's a full-time indoor cat now, because he kept getting into fights, and that got expensive. So this white cat, we generally take care of him because he's basically family. I mean, he's related to this guy. And the other night, I saw a rabbit, and the rabbit is clearly not native. He's white and clearly somebody's pet, but I think the rabbit's been getting out, that kind of thing. Uh, so I see a rabbit and the cat on the street, kind of looking at each other, and I'm going, "Oh, this is going to get ugly," because I'm thinking, hunting instincts. Turns out the white cat comes up to the house, and the rabbit is following the cat, and I guess they're buddies now. So the white cat brought a friend over. It was quite fun to watch. Um, so crazy things. And my wife calls me Dr. Doolittle because animals love me, and you know, I don't know what it is. Jonathan Stone on YouTube. We live in Itasca. You saved our butts a couple of weeks ago back with that hailstorm. Wife grabbed the animals and met me in Waco to get away from the storm. Well, that's great. I like that. You were able to get out of that storm. That was Itasca's had it kind of rough this season. In fact, as we say that, a little heavier storm just north of town. There, right there on not 35 West. That's going to be that side, but 81, FM 81. Then okay, um, yeah. But I mean, Itasca's had it kind of rough recently. Um, Texas Tough Garden on YouTube. You're asking, are we getting anything else after this wave? Yeah, I mean, there's rain behind it. All of this rain behind, and then tomorrow we may get more showers and thunderstorms through the day, depending on how much of this is left. And it looked like models are trying to send us another disturbance up behind this one. We're in that model, or we're in that pattern rather, where we just have little disturbances coming through. So can't rule out more storms tomorrow. Tomorrow morning on the backside of this system, and then tomorrow afternoon there could be another little disturbance coming through. Rain is possible the rest of the week. I mean, the rest of the 7-day period at least. We could have storms coming through. And then somebody asked earlier if these storms are part of the El Nino pattern. We have not been declared in El Nino at this point. We're still ENSO neutral. And so I don't think we're in the El Nino conditions yet. But we're getting there. And a lot of people are calling this a super El Nino. And I want to clarify that super El Nino is not an official term. Like, that's not a thing that exists. So it's not a thing. So keep that in mind, right? But we will see, or we are expected per the El Nino conditions to see more rainfall than average. Doesn't mean a ton of rain, more than average, right? And it's like that temperature map I showed you earlier. It's saying there's a 50 or 60% chance of below normal temperatures for the next 6 to 10 days. Okay, well, normal is 88, 89 degrees. So 85 is below. That map looks like it's going to be a lot cooler. I mean, we may still see just a few degrees below that. So doesn't necessarily mean we're looking at anything big and crazy. A couple of things I want to point out that are going on. The storms are moving through. We got these new heavy storms that have blown up over Johnson County, parts of Hill County, but there's this new outflow boundary. So the outflow from this storm system 1, which is kind of what I expected to happen. So definitely new, fresh development, but we have a new little cell that's popped up looks like right over Midway Regional Airport there. Yeah, boom. So right over the airport, just a little rain cell, nothing intense there. Might be able to see that on the camera though. See that? So there's that little downpour that just popped up over Midway Regional Airport. Hard to see, not a lot of light, but there it is. Just that little rain shaft there. That is that little area of rain that's popped up ahead of, and we're getting some lightning on the camera now. It's going to be nighttime, so we should get some good lightning. And if you have radar Omega, I'm not certain which of the levels, because there's the base program for radar Omega. but there are additional subscriptions with additional features that you can get. Um, but I'm not sure if the Cyclone port cameras are included on all of those levels. I need to refamiliarize myself with that. Trying to look that up right now. Let's see. It doesn't list. I'm not seeing it there, so it may be included in the base app. Um, but those Cyclone Port cameras, like the one in Glen Heights, the city of Glen Heights, allows us to use this. But that's included with Radar Omega. So that's the cool thing. We are working on getting more of those up. Hopefully, though, one of those will be up in Waxahachie very soon. We have a location. I'm just going through some of the process with SDS Weather to kind of go through their process of getting that approved and to us, and very excited to get that posted and to show you where it's a pretty cool location, if you ask me. We'll announce that, of course, when it's up there. But I'm excited for that to happen. We're just kind of going through all the process, all that good stuff. So that little cell is getting heavier there near Midlothian and starting to get some lightning from that one too. Starting to get some lightning from that little storm there. So we'll keep the camera on. But this little storm just popped up here in the last couple of minutes, and it's a small one, but it's feisty. Already got some lightning, got some heavy rain with it, and we're just going to see this east to west, west to east progression. East to west is the alpha boundary we were looking at earlier, but west to east progression for this line. Nothing severe though. It's going to be noisy. There's going to be you're going to know it's there for sure, but nothing severe, at least for our area. Now, this little storm here that's right there at about Golson, between Golson and Aquila there, right there at right about on the county line between the Bosque, McLennan, and Hill counties, all right there. And there could be some small hail with that storm as well. If we look at there's a little hail core just on the north side of Golson. So that is going to be moving northward into northeastward, I would say. So probably moving towards 35 west. So moving that way, do me a favor. If this storm goes across the highway, and I know there's an entire vicious debate going on one of our posts about this, but please don't stop under overpasses. I know people have been telling me all day, shut up, it's going to happen anyway. But, the problem is when this happened yesterday, and really the last couple of days, I've heard multiple reports of it. I have heard confirmed reports, confirmed to me personally by people involved, that it did impede ambulances and fire trucks and those kind of things. So it may seem convenient to you in the moment, but there are larger implications to that, why that's problematic. Crystal, Kilgore's outside of my area, so I honestly haven't really looked at the forecast there, but it's likely that it will. I would expect this line probably very early tomorrow morning after midnight. It will make it there. Stephanie, that the rain by Midway Airport, that's that little storm between Midlothian and Waxahachie that we've been covering here. And we'll get another look at that on the Cyclone Port camera here. I love being able to reference these because it's one thing to look at a radar. It's another thing to be able to actually see it going on. So this growing rain shaft here is that storm and you can see the lights kind of lighting up that rain. But that's going to continue. At this point, it's moving pretty much due northward. And the great thing is, once we have the Cyclone Port camera up in Waxahachie, we're looking at other locations possibly as well. Um, the cool thing is that, we will have control over that camera, be able to move that around, and look at the best angle to see what we need to see. So it's going to give us more eyes to the sky here on the stream. So I'm very excited about that. Very excited about some other things that'll be happening over the summer. I think the fall storm season is going to be phenomenal. We're going to have hopefully some cool new things going on by that point, and it will just improve the coverage. So this little outflow boundary that has popped up ahead of this line, so the old line fell apart, but now the outflow boundary ahead of it is kicking off new convection. So that's pretty much that's a pretty good demonstration of that life cycle of these linear complexes. That's just kind of how those work. I live parallel to Midway Airport, and it's pouring pouring down. Sounds like someone's beating the house. Yeah, I imagine it's pretty heavy. I don't think there's going to be any hail in that little cell. Probably just some very heavy rain. There's the winds. So just, to kind of keep you apprised of that. And it's all red because it's now moving away from that line, parallel to I guess technically perpendicular to the radar site. So here's the axis. So as soon as you get past that, it turns red, and that's moving away from that line, that line of sight from the radar tower. But it's going to be some gusty winds as that comes through too. But that little storm over the airport there, not seeing any hail with that, but it's going to be plenty of heavy rain. The only hail I think that we're looking at is going to be just north of Gulson, and that's headed to the northeast as well. So if you're in southern Hill County, that storm is not severe, but could likely be at least some small hail falling in that particular storm. So, yep, yeah, the rain in Midlothian, between Midlothian and Red Oak now, and it's going to be headed up into southern Dallas County as well. So that'll be moving up towards DeSoto, possibly parts of Duncanville, Cedar Hill, up that way, best southwest area. And just to show you, again, this is not localized to our area. This is a larger complex, and the stronger storms are south of Hillsboro right now, from about Golson on down towards Georgetown, and even further down than that. These go all the way down to Bernie, south of San Antonio, almost down probably to, yeah, just about down to the Rio Grande. Nice little line about to move into the San Antonio area too. So this whole sort of wave, this linear complex goes all the way down into South Texas. Do I think the storm in west will hit Italy? I don't know if it will quite go that far north. It very well could. It almost depends on it's moving northward, but it kind of depends on how much eastward motion does it do to kind of push it out of the way of there. For right now, it looks like it could very well. It's got a pretty good northerly track there. So you may get that storm in Italy. The good news is, again, that's not a severe storm, but it is an intense one. It is a heavy one. Lots of lightning with that, very heavy rain, possibly some small hail. And you're talking about the wind in Maypearl. Yeah, that's that outflow boundary moving through. So that's going to be kicking up some wind as it moves through, and that'll be kicking up more storms as well. Because what you see is those outflow boundaries converge. The outflow from the storm complex takes over, and that kicks up some new lift. So that's what's causing some of those newer storms to pop up. Got some lightning there over in in the Grandview area. Reply to this. All right, got an email I wanted to go ahead and respond to because Lord knows if I don't respond to an important email when I get it, it's gonna get it's gonna get caught in 100 other things. Katie, no severe weather threat right now. Really, the severe weather threat is very low. This storm near just north of Gulson, near west, um, there could be some small hail, but I don't see that being larger than maybe penny size, maybe nickel size hail with that. And looks like that could be weakening. So I don't think anything is reaching severe limits tonight. There's going to be a few of these that try to overachieve. But there's not. I don't expect any major damage or anything from any of these storms tonight. Watching from Galveston, your home is in Midlothian. Good news is I don't expect any damage at home, but enjoy the beach down there in Galveston. In fact, I was talking to a guy earlier today that took a vacation, and he said, "Sorry, I haven't been replying. I've been on vacation." And I'm going, "Oh, don't apologize for that. Enjoy that vacation." It's something that I haven't done in quite a while, actually. I haven't even. I'm planning on going to a movie this next Friday, and I had to think about. I don't remember the last time I saw a movie in a theater. I don't get out much. So a lot of curiosity about the storm near west. First of all, let me calm your fears. That thing is not severe. Um, a lot of anxiety, it seems, over that storm. It's not severe at this point. The hail threat is probably weakening at this point. It looks like that will move northward through Hillsborough and then on into Ellis County. So it could impact. I've been asked about Italy before. I'm going to ask about Maypearl. It's tough to tell because it's moving northeasterly, but I mean the whole system is going to push it farther east. So it's kind of hard to tell exactly where it's going to line up by the time it gets all the way upstream into Ellis County. But it is possible. Let's see. Let's get back over to because I want to look at this storm, see how much lightning we're seeing. It doesn't look like there's a whole lot of lightning in that storm. There's a little. Um, Florence, Texas. Where is Florence? That's definitely out of my area. Um, I cover between Dallas and Waco and Florence. Oh yeah, you're all the way down. That's all the way down near Georgetown. I will tell you there's storms down there, but I don't cover that far south, so I haven't really. I'm not up to speed on that. But I mean, I'll tell you. Yeah, it looks like you're under a severe thunderstorm warning, but from what I can tell, um, looks like the severe weather threat is probably well, it's not a severe thunderstorm either. It's a got a flash flood warning. Flooding is definitely a threat there. So you're at, whoever was asking about Florence, Texas, flooding is going to be our primary threat there. Other than that, heavy rain, lightning, thunder, maybe some small hail should be about it. So these the storms that we're watching across the area, the strongest activity is going to be south of Hillsborough on down, down to Belton, Killeen, Temple, Georgetown that way. So the activity here, it's noisy, but it's not terribly intense at this point. Braxton, not very intense in the Denton area. I mean, again, we're not expecting severe weather tonight. They're going to be noisy. They're going to be loud, but I'm not expecting large hail damaging winds, any of that tonight. So that's the good news. These are going to be pretty garden variety storms for the most part. We can see that storm, just looking at Ellis County, I mean, this storm that rolled over the Midway Regional Airport, um, I mean, it's just about gone already. So not a whole lot of support ahead of it. And that was kind of what I was thinking, that there's more stable air out where that old outflow boundary came through. But this new outflow is providing a lot of new lift that is blowing up new storms. I will tell you, though, the flood threat is increasing for McLennan County. Because there's lots of heavy rain there, and it's not moving, it's not displacing terribly quickly. And what I mean by that is it's moving pretty quickly to the north, but the west to east displacement is the heavy rain is hanging around a while. So the flood threat, you can see there's several flash flood warnings and flood advisories and things down here. So, new actually flash flood warning for Belton there. But the flood threat may be the greatest with these storms. Some of that moving into southern Hill County right now. So up towards west, towards Aquila, up towards Abbott, eventually up towards Hillsboro, Carl's Corner, right up 35. So, those areas may have to be worried about flooding as the heavier rain goes through. It's not as persistent up towards Johnson and Ellis counties. But we'll see. And this, Navarro County too, may be looking at a bit of a flood threat if the heavier rain is able to track up that way. So we'll definitely have to keep an eye on that as we go forward as well. But that's the nice thing, folks. We're looking at heavy rain, lightning, thunder, some gusty winds along with this too. But I mean, nothing severe is expected, and really, I'm not seeing anything severe at this point. We're looking at this cyclone port camera over in Glen Heights. As I mentioned, we're gonna be working on getting more of these out there to different agencies, different folks who are, and it can be private companies, it can be government agencies, whoever. I'm willing to talk to anyone that is willing to put one of these up. We have one going up in Waxahachie soon, hopefully in the next few weeks or so. We're hoping to get one in Cleburne, one over in Hillsboro, one in Corsicana. Actually, going to be talking to someone in Corsicana, so we may have something set up there. But all of this gives me a better look at what's going on and allows you to get a better look as you're watching this on the live streams. So very excited about this project and really hoping to get this done over the summer. I was hoping to get a few, or maybe at least one up over the spring. Took a little longer than I expected. But definitely for the fall season, worst case scenario, I mean, this gives us a chance over the summer to kind of familiarize ourselves and be ready by the fall season. I mean, it may work out for the best, that we were a little delayed on that, but that's kind of where we're at with all of this. M All Red on YouTube. The only reason I'm okay with storm season now is because I can relax, play a game on my phone while I listen to South Metro weather. Well, there you go. I hope that I can. I hope that I can give some good background noise for your game there. So I'm curious, what game are you playing on your phone right now? I have a couple of phone games that are just there for if I need to pass some time, and I don't want to fire up the PlayStation 5 and get really invested in something. It's good to have the little phone games where it's just a quick little pass some time, kind of rest the brain kind of thing. So the couple of things that we're watching here, just to kind of get zoomed in, we have the heavier rain, the heavier storms moving into southern Hill County. Not severe, but can't rule out maybe a little bit of small hail with that storm. Definitely plenty of lightning and heavy rain. And then as we go farther north, all new storms popping up in Hill County, Johnson County, Ellis County now. Navarro County, you'll get it later. It's going to be a little later in the night. before it arrives there, but it is on the way. Crazy Texan on YouTube, send all the rain this way. Well, I don't know where you're located, but most of Texas has been getting some kind of rain today, or is going to get some. This system has been pretty widespread across the area. My hope is that we won't get the kind of rain we got. Was it yesterday when we had all of that rain come in and all the flooding issues in Waxahachie? Just wild, you know. So hopefully we can go without those issues. Okay, so yeah, you got plenty of rain going into the Hubbard area. It is definitely on the way. What did you think of the introduction music? I'm trying out some different music for the intro, and I'm curious what folks thought about that. We've been doing the same music for a long time, and we have a pretty big um, music library at our disposal. So so I will tell you, Royal Match is one that I play too. It's a nice, just kind of mindless. I mean, there's puzzles involved. It's a good mindless game to kind of just relax to for a while. I like to play that, especially if I've been working for a while and I need to like get away from the computer and just shut down and just not do anything for a little bit. That kind of distracts me for a little while. So I do enjoy some Royal Match. I'm not afraid to admit that. We'll pull up the Glen Heights camera again, and we're starting to see off far to the right here. Looks like we have that still a little bit of that rain shaft, but we're starting to see some of these, at least what looks like maybe a shelf cloud here moving in. So we're starting to see kind of the leading edges of that storm. I'll tell you too, something I want to mention. I would love to be able to feature some music from local artists, not necessarily. I have a pretty large library at our disposal, but and I may have to stick with that. I'm speaking before I've really looked into this, but I would love to be able to feature some local artists and that kind of thing. The problem with that is, of course, that there's so many there's so much automated there's so much automated moderation on all the licensing and everything on social media that I could get full permission from the band, and I could still get a strike from just because it just doesn't know where it came from, as opposed to built-in licensing from some of these other sources. But that might be something I'm going to look into, and because I would love to be able to feature some local bands, local artists in our stuff, and instead of just music from a library somewhere, I'd love to be able to say, this is a band from um, this local band or this local company. What you're looking at right now is the Cyclone Port camera there in Glen Heights. And we're starting to see kind of the leading edge of this cloud here, and we will keep an eye on that because these you see here, city lights are kind of lighting up that little area of rain, but there's also that outflow boundary. We can see that little shelf cloud coming in. And as it moves closer, we're going to start seeing those city lights lighting that thing up. So that'll look really great on the stream here shortly. But back to the radar, we have these stronger storms, the stronger activity moving in to southern Hill County. This is going to be the heaviest, I think, that we see tonight. More storms in western Johnson and or western Ellis and eastern Johnson counties, but not very intense. I'm not seeing any signs of hail or anything like that. Gusty winds will be moving in with the outflow boundary for sure, and that's that thin line you see there. So that's the real thin line that's going to bring all the winds with this. That's the outflow from the original line. And now we have the new line popping up, which, like we talked about, that's kind of that cycle that we see with these linear complexes. And new stuff popping up right there near Midlothian. New little storms, just a little bit of lift right along, right ahead of that line. And that's what we're seeing on the camera here. We can see those little downpours, those little rain shafts. But here we have that shelf cloud that will be moving in, and will give us that'll give us a good picture of that. So yeah, CCLI. I mean, that's a. I mean, that stands for Christian Copyright Licensing, and I think yeah, I don't know. I don't know that that would cover everything we're doing. I mean, we I'm not opposed necessarily to Christian music, I guess, but most of what we're doing, especially for right now, is from a catalog of very, very various, a very big variety of music. So I don't know if CCLI is going to really cover everything. Makes sense for a church, but I don't think it works for me necessarily. Yeah, so I mean it's in the name. It's um, Laura Joe. I do see your comments about Twisted Southern Entertainment. I'll look into that at some point. Um, but yes, Crazy Texan. I mean it's in the name. It's it's a Christian company. It's a Christian license. So that's to my knowledge, that's how that works. Now, I mean, I may be wrong. It may just be in the name, and it may cover a variety of music. But it would seem to me that it's probably focused on that. So the outflow boundary now moving through Midlothian, and I know somebody just said that it got cold up there. It is a chilly wind. It's going to get cooler. It's all rain cooled air. So I'm curious to see what happens with the temperature here in Glen Heights. Now, it's been modestly dropping, but we will probably see a more dramatic drop. So I was trying to check on something here. So Keisha, I mean the projected. I mean you can see the path here. It's everything's moving northeastward. Um, so yeah, I'm all ready. I mean, yeah, I've got my own music I write and use for my marketing on YouTube and TikTok. I get hit with mute of video on TikTok or even not allowed to play on YouTube until I show proof it's exhausting. That's the thing. And that's, like I said, it's all automated now. It's all computers. You can't talk to a human being. I know I you know, sound like somebody from I guess somebody from an older generation, complaining about I can't talk to anybody, but when it comes down to this kind of stuff, social media it's tough because we're computers and AI and these different things are moderating everything. And so many times the copyright strikes and different things make no sense. And so, it's tough to find um tough to get answers. And it's tough to work through things because you have to go through that very thick filter. So I mean, yeah. And I've considered, I'm a drummer. And so I've considered doing, drumming content, but I'm so concerned about how that could affect, how the licensing and things could go, that I just don't even try. I don't even, I don't even want to try that because I don't know. And that's, if I'm covering a popular song or something like that, which is usually how you kind of get your foot in the door on social media with music. It's hard. It's very difficult. And I don't know if I have the bandwidth to handle all of this and, all of that. So, I'll stick with the weather. I'll stay in my lane, as they say, just do my thing. Um, I've tried a couple of other things before, but I just never had the motivation for it. Yeah, I mean these storms, Laurie, Gwen on YouTube, these storms are moving eastward. So yeah, I mean, all of us are going to get rain tonight, or at least the majority of us will get at least something from these storms. I don't see any of us going without at least a little bit of rain tonight. Brecca, if we get any hail, it's going to be very small, but I don't see severe hail through any of this. I don't think that's very likely. And um, there's even before I say this, I need to. I had to double check because I know there was a name change, but Jade Edwards, formerly, of course, Jade Flores. I love her music, but again, I don't know what kind of licensing issues potentially I'm going to have. Michelle, thank you for holding off the rain and winds for my photo shoot tonight. I'm glad I can help. Can't take any credit, but I'm happy it worked out. Michelle, I know that this is a heck of a time of year to be doing photo shoots, uh, just because it's so hard to predict the weather, and that makes it such a big difference. So I get the frustration there. Yeah, coming down in buckets in Venus. I mean, um, yeah. I mean, that's what we're looking at as far as the heavy rain. I mean, you're getting the lightning there too. It's yeah. So here's another look. Ooh, yeah. There's that shelf cloud. So there's that outflow coming through, coming in towards the camera, the cyclone port camera there at the city of Glen Heights. Big thank you to Glen Heights for allowing us to use this camera. Um, and I believe I've been given permission by SDS Weather to use any of the cyclone ports, but I prefer to show those, not only the ones in our area, um, but even if there were storm chasers in the area, I prefer to wait until I get permission. I guess I'm old fashioned. I don't know, but I prefer to wait until I get permission from those individuals or those agencies to use their stuff. And my 4 year old is yelling something. Deep, loud thundering in Midlothian, definitely nap time sounds. Yeah, no, I hear you. Sometimes that's the tough part about being in this job is, when there's a low rolling thunder, that's what I want to do. I just want to go to sleep, especially because my wife, she sleeps with thunderstorm, the ambient noise, and there's been more than a time or two where I've woken up and thought that the storms were early or something and kind of had a mini heart attack for a second, a little panic attack. And it turned out it was fine. It was just, that. But I'm always worried that, if there's a storm, I'm not going to notice because that's going on. Um, Brandon, yeah, my 4 year old is always yelling too. He's quite loud. Um, Brecca, that camera is in Glen Heights, and that thing is looking southwest, so it's looking right at the outflow boundary that's coming through. Jennifer, no tornadoes tonight. Not expecting tornadoes. Not really even expecting severe weather. So this is the camera. It's in Glen Heights. You can see where the city lights are kind of illuminating the clouds. There's the lights from probably from Waxahachie or Red Oak, and then the lights over probably Cedar Hill. Um, but yeah, I mean this is the shelf cloud. This is the outflow boundary that is moving in across that area. Megan, any word on what hit Scurry and Rosser this afternoon? Tornado or straight line winds? I guess I wasn't aware. I don't think anything severe hit those areas. Let me go back. Let me look. Uh, I'm looking back here. About 2 p.m. Okay. That's east of my area, so I wasn't watching that as closely. Um, about 2 p.m. in Scurry and Rosser. So it looked like it was a heavy storm. I'm looking back at the kind of the historical radar through there, and I don't know. I'm seeing some gusty winds, some straight line winds. You're saying lots of how much damage are we talking? Are we talking about? Are we talking about like, because I hear lots of damage all the time, and it turns out to be tree limbs, that kind of thing. So I'm just curious, but um, it wouldn't have been a tornado for sure. And then let's see, Dawn just had some sort of downburst here in Midlothian. Well, you've got a storm coming in. We can check the velocity and see what that looks like, but um, it wasn't a downburst so much as you have the outflow boundary moving through. So the red is moving away from the radar. So there it's perpendicular to the radar there, and then it's moving away. So you didn't have a downburst, but you had that outflow boundary ahead of the storms move through. Um, On YouTube, can you explain what a shelf cloud is exactly? Is the same with wall cloud? No, they're very different. A shelf cloud is it's on the head of the it's on the front of a storm and it indicates straight line winds. Wall clouds rotate. Two very different things. Both of them are kind of, um, both of those are going to be, you know, they're both lowerings from the cloud, but one is bringing straight line winds, one is rotating. So they're two very different things. So in the scary area, you're saying awnings twisted, metal roofs pulled back, roof of ball field dugout blown, a football field away, trees down, power lines down. I'm not sure. Doc Deason covers areas east of me, so I'm not sure if he might have a better idea of maybe what the damage was. Now, I will say that if there was a storm there today, but if that damage happened yesterday, I feel like that would be. I feel like we had stronger winds out there yesterday than today. I know in Waxahachie we had some roofs that had some damage from the hail and the high winds in this area. But the storm, the storm that we had yesterday, or well, the storm that I saw earlier on radar just didn't look that intense. But I'm not sure. And then in Midlothian, you're saying it literally blew my big couch off my porch. Um, are you able to send a picture of how big that couch is? Because that sounds. I'm struggling here, and I'm not trying to say I don't believe everybody, but I'm not the kind of damage that I'm hearing reported. It just doesn't line up with what I'm seeing on radar. Now, possibly radar's not meeting the challenge, but um, maybe we need to take a look at the at what radar's showing us. But I mean, there's definitely gusty winds. But I mean, if it's lifting a big heavy couch, that's you know that's something completely different. Thank you, Eric, for the Cash App. Greatly appreciated. I'm trying to see what in the Midlothian area. The only thing that I'm seeing is just those gusty winds from. I mean, it's possible that we had a little bit of maybe a little sign of a microburst here, but that would have been really small and really brief. But it's, that close to the radar, it's kind of hard to tell too, because it's kind of distorted a little bit there. Let's see. Must have been a pretty good vortex effect. I mean, maybe that's. I guess that's possible, but it would also kind of depend on the direction of the wind at that point. Jessica, you just drove down from Cedar Hill to Venus. Got crazy here for a minute. Yeah, I mean, when the winds are going through, um, that's the thing. These winds will take you by surprise if you don't know they're coming. Marie, I mean, it's headed to Red Oak, but it's not going to be severe. So I don't think it's enough to If you don't want to drive in rain, you might take a break from dashing, but other than that, it's not going to be anything major. Not going to be anything doing damage. Gusty winds for sure when that outflow boundary comes through, but shouldn't be too much other than that. Here's what we're looking at. Here's that shelf cloud. This is the cyclone port camera over in Glen Heights. So this is what we're watching. Yeah, I mean, the like I say, the winds. And here's the thing too. There's always going to be a difference between the vernacular that you guys use versus what I use. Where I'm talking about damaging winds, I'm talking 60, 70 mile per hour winds. That's where we get into damaging severe weather criteria. You guys may say, oh, that was a really bad wind and it's 30 to 40 miles per hour. And the most of it is it just came up by surprise, right? So that might be some of the miscommunication sometimes. Because if you're getting a really big wind and you're saying, oh, that was a really bad wind. My definition of really bad, and really most people probably have a different definition of, and that's why when people say, hey, is it going to be bad weather? I have to qualify that because some people love storms and their threshold of bad weather is a lot higher than other people's. So don't ever feel offended if you're saying, hey, that was a bad wind, then I seem like I'm minimizing that. It's just that, my criteria of what I would consider to be, a damaging or a severe wind might be a little different than what you're talking about. I want to check messages here. I know I usually get some videos and those kind of things. I mean, we got some great video yesterday of the flooding over in the North Grove neighborhood of Waxahachie. My goodness, just wild out there. And Synergy Roofing was out at my roof today doing an inspection, free inspection. They checked out a few things, and if these storms, if you're curious about whether or not you have hail damage, maybe you're waiting for some hail damage to get a roof replaced, that kind of thing, give them a call. They can check your roof, and the hail yesterday probably wasn't greater than quarter size, maybe a few $half size, but sometimes you miss out on larger hailstones because it may be one or two in the storm, and you may not see it mixed in with all the smaller stuff. So it's worth getting it checked out. If you're waiting on a new roof, then Synergy will hop up there for free. They have expert eyes. They've been doing this a long time. They know what they're looking for, and they're not going to bring a shingle from somebody else's house to this fell off your roof. I have seen that both in parody and in real life, unfortunately. So but Synergy, they do really good work. Likewise, if you've got tree limbs down and you need a tree taken care of or whatever the case is, Liberty Tree Service is happy to jump in and help with that as well. We have a really good slate of sponsors. I'm waiting to get. In fact, I think I'm good to go now to get Bison gutters out here. I'm trying to wait until there's not, storms going to happen. We may just have to try to get that done in the morning one day. But Bison built gutters will be out here very soon, and I'm going to document that because I want to. Gutters are obviously weather relevant, right? And I'm curious to see how they do the work. They do the gutters and the leaf guard. If you are like me, you have trees that are falling, not trees that are falling, but if you have trees over your gutters, you're getting all the leaves and the dirt and all this stuff, just causing a whole big mess and filling up your gutters all the time. Those leaf guards really, really help. Brittany Cordell on your YouTube, you're asking about Somerset, Kentucky. I'm sorry, I can't help you there. We cover north central Texas, between Dallas and Waco. So I don't really have any information on Kentucky for you. This is one of the few weather-related channels out there that has a set market. There are guys like Ryan Hall, Max Velocity, all those that they'll cover the whole country. They'll cover everywhere. I mean, I don't know how they do it. Some of these guys are on the air for 8, 10, 11 hours. Um, I got stuff to do, guys. I can't be covering the entire country, and I don't want to. I've had people ask me before, have you ever thought about expanding, to the Metroplex or to the whole state of Texas or the country or whatever? The problem is that when you do that, you have to bounce around. So I can talk about a tornado warning somewhere, then I got to bounce around and talk about this one, then I got to go talk about this storm. And it's what I can do here is I can stay pretty consistent with one area and talk about that. Um, Shane Baylor, you're asking about the weather in Ellis County. We got storms coming in, but they're not severe at this point. We have an outflow boundary that's going to bring plenty of gusty winds as well. I'll tell you, just south in Hill County, we've been watching those storms that were moving northward. Those are starting to weaken. So we're starting to kind of lose some of the intensity there. The drier air already clearing Comanche County. Already clearing Comanche, about to clear Hamilton. So the drier air is there, but we may have more storms tomorrow morning, tomorrow afternoon. I've got storms in the forecast for the next 7 days at least. We're kind of stuck in this pattern where we have these cutoff lows that kind of move slowly and that kind of thing. We have another one probably setting up. I would say probably by the weekend, early next week. And just these little disturbances that come through. So it's hard to say, when that pattern is going to be gone. But the thing is, when it's gone, it may be gone because we're getting into that time of year where very soon we're going to get from, oh, we're tired of rain every day to what happened because it shuts off and it's done for the summer. The good news is, I'm sure you've been hearing about this El Nino. When I say that, look, there is no such thing as a super El Nino. That doesn't exist. You can have El Nino to greater or lesser intensity, but super El Nino is a hyped up media term. It's not a real thing. So it's not I'm not worried about it at all. But that could mean more rain than usual. So hopefully more rain than average at least. So that outflow boundary now moving into the Glen Heights area, and a couple of things. One, you can kind of see all of this right here. Let me get this banner off of here. And you can see that. You see right down here. Now, you can see right under this, all these ragged clouds here. That is called under the whale's mouth or inside the whale's mouth. That's what we kind of name that. All those rugged clouds under that. You can see the shelf cloud here. It's kind of shaped like that. It kind of goes at an angle downward, where you have kind of a slope and then it's flat underneath. And inside of that, we call that inside the whale's mouth. And it's real rugged. The other thing is you see these two little lowerings here. There are going to be some people who are going to jump on that and go, ooh, a wall cloud, because they want something intense. But there's nothing rotating there. So those are not rotating lowerings that we have to worry about. You have to be careful on what you're looking at. Eric Lanier, Kevin, and Evan Andrews are the only ones that don't overhype for clicks. Now I'll tell you, that may be true for our area. But Conley Isom down in Central Texas doesn't overhype anything. Doc Deason out east, back east rather, doesn't hype anything, East Texas. And there's Oklahoma Weather Watch or something like that up in Oklahoma. He doesn't. There are a few of us who keep it pretty straightforward and simple. It's not necessarily the norm, but there are a few of us that are trying to kind of keep it realistic and keep it straightforward. But yeah, this is the outflow. This is the shelf cloud moving in. Again, don't pay attention to this stuff. It's not a wall cloud. It's not rotating. It's just some scud clouds that are getting kind of caught up in the updraft. The upward moving air coming in right behind that outflow boundary. So don't be deceived. But here are the storms moving through. Um, like I say, we're not looking at anything severe. Um, not seeing anything severe tonight. This is just going to be a run of the mill. There's going to be some loud storms right there near really over Mansfield right now. That storm making a lot of noise. So that's going to be right over Joe Pool Lake, southern Grand Prairie there, right at the four county kind of area, right there on 360. So moving up into southern Arlington, southern Grand Prairie, over to Cedar Hill and Mansfield, that area. Not severe, but it's loud. I'll zoom this out a little more. And as we've been talking about, the heavier storms are down south. Colton, small hail is possible, but nothing other than that. Not severe hail today. Um, Now, the heavier storms are south. Well, I'll talk about this one right over Malone right now. Malone, Bynum, headed towards Mertens. Um, that storm is a little noisy. That's got some lightning with it. But the stronger storms are farther south. Even those, though, look like they may be losing some of that intensity. So overall, things are not terribly intense. Yeah, we just had a new little storm pop up over right over Bardwell. So new little rainstorm there, and that's going to be the pattern. We're just going to have these little storms popping up as this outflow boundary moves through, and just garden variety storms. Nothing severe tonight. I think we're going to get away without anything too crazy going on. Let's see here. Yeah, we'll get back into get back to the camera here. Yes, Josh, I saw your message about raining in Ennis. That's just a little storm that popped up there. Plenty of lightning from these storms. You can see that here on the Cyclone Port camera there in Glen Heights. And Lou Avila, yeah. So that outflow boundary is bringing the gusty winds in Waxahachie for sure. I don't think they have quite hit the. I don't think they've quite hit the studio yet. I'm not hearing anything. I'm actually going to look at the. So doesn't look like the gusty winds have started yet here at the studio. May have okay, maybe just starting to pick up. Just realized my trash bin is still out there. So I'm gonna have my son go and get that before that becomes my neighbor's trash bin. Uh, Cyrus, getting some pretty heavy rain and wind at Scarborough. Yeah, I believe you. You've got that heavy rain there with that little storm and, that outflow boundary. But the good news is it's not severe. Yeah, Josh, your dog was outside and it started to rain. And that's the thing. My dog, she's gotten out several times, unfortunately. And she is almost impossible to keep in. I mean, we have built up this fence um, a lot, and she just climbs over it. I mean, it's the wildest thing. Um, so when she got out one day, really big thunder clapped and heavy rain started, and she suddenly changed her mind and did not want to be outside anymore. So funny how that works. So rain, yeah, rain has reached Waxahachie. There's going to be some lightning and thunder with this, but this is not a severe storm. That's the good news. I don't see anything severe across the board here. Rain starting to move into western Navarro County now. But area wide, I mean, you're going to get some gusty winds with that outflow boundary, but I'm not expecting severe weather. If there's any hail at all, it's going to be very small hail. Ashley saw your question, but I'm not expecting anything very intense with all of this. I mean, it's going to be again. We call them garden variety storms. That's what that's the term that I picked up from Evan Andrews, and he said it enough that I picked it up now. But garden variety thunderstorms, so nothing severe, lightning, thunder, heavy rain, all that good stuff, but nothing too intense, nothing to be worried about. If you like a good noisy storm to sleep through, well, this is your deal. So, and I know that we normally reserve live coverage for severe weather, but I've had more and more questions recently about storms coming through. Why are we not live? So I thought I would give this a shot. We may find out later that nobody cares about live coverage when there's not severe weather going on, and I'll take the time those opportunities to rest. But um, recently, we've had some storms come through that were not severe, but we still had people asking why there was no live coverage. So thought we'd do a little bit more of a less, little less formal, little less dramatic live stream here. Yeah, getting the reports of the heavy rain near the Scarborough area. There's some lightning there too. So, Scarborough I think had a good year this year. I was there one weekend, and it was Celtic weekend, and had a good time. Had a really good time. So, was able to leave the kiddos with my mother-in-law and go enjoy Scarborough for a little while. That was a treat. It was nice to be able to go and see Scarborough and not have to worry about keeping the kids cool or keeping up with them or keeping them going, because sometimes Scarborough is just a lot for the little kids. Um, you know, we probably actually would have just had them, at least the little one, in a little wagon there, because he would not want to be walking all of that. Fancy, nothing severe there. It's going to be windy there near Shackleford. Those winds just got there. That's an outflow boundary. Nothing severe in that area. So, nothing really to be worried about. I want to look at the cyclone port camera here. Temperature is definitely dropping there. Dropped 3 degrees in, let's see, just about 78 to a couple of degrees. Yeah, so that temperature is going to keep dropping there in Glen Heights as all this cool air starts coming in. And like I said, you're looking at we call this under the whale's mouth, or inside of the whale's mouth, where you're behind that outflow boundary and you have all those rugged clouds behind the shelf cloud there. Um, So that's just a little bit of, jargon of what we're looking at. But area wide, there's some heavy rain mixed in, but we're not looking at severe weather tonight. That's the good news. No severe weather tonight. No hail expected. So yeah, not really too worried about that. The Grosbeck area, I mean, you're looking at a heavy storm there, but it's not severe. So we got some new development there down in Limestone and Freestone counties, but nothing severe. It's just a heavy thunderstorm. There might be some small hail with that, but nothing to be worried about. If we do get any hail tonight, it's going to be small. Saw where somebody was camping in the backyard. Had to pack it up. Strong wind and heavy rain off 66. Yeah, that's the thing. I'm hearing a lot of folks are out camping tonight. Unfortunately, tonight was not the best time. Michelle, rain headed to the Ennis area, but nothing severe. Laurie Gwynn on YouTube, the storms will not continue all night, but we may have more storms early in the morning and tomorrow afternoon as well. So we're kind of just, again, I've said it several times, we're just kind of looking at a off and on storm situation the rest of the week and into the weekend. So that's kind of where we're at. We're just in a pattern right now where we got storm chances basically every day. Sure, you can hear the kiddos in the background. Happy screams, I promise. Happy screams. Just good old kid chaos going on. But if they want to run out all that energy, I'm fine with that. Yeah, tornado warnings down near San Antonio. That's definitely where the stronger storms are. The greater instability, that the hotter temperatures, that kind of thing. So yeah, fortunately not in our area. Um, Michelle, winds just sound horrible. Yeah, so I mean, you've got the outflow boundary. You're getting strong winds, but yeah, I mean that's the thing is tonight was one of the more um, widespread rain events we're going to have. One of the more certain rain events. Some of the rain events right now that we've had recently and we have coming up are not near as certain as this. The last few days, of course, last couple of days, we've had those outflow boundaries that come out of these storms and turn a handful of storms into two or three times that, just because when you get those outflow boundaries, they create storms and the new outflow boundaries create storms and it just multiplies. And there's no predicting where those outflow boundaries are going to go. So last night we went from nothing to a whole lot in Ellis County in a very short amount of time. I had a question on X, formerly Twitter, asking why does the National Weather Service not make the CASA radar information, the CASA radar data public? And I don't know. You'd have to ask them. I know that is a collaboration with what, like Harvard or Yale or somebody, I think. Um, and we have a few of those here. We have a few of those in our area. One in Midlothian, one in Cleburne. So it would be great to have that, but unfortunately, and I think there's one at UTA as well. But we don't have Oh, it's the University of Massachusetts. Okay, so UMass is who's doing that. Um, we don't get I guess, the high resolution radar data from the CASA radars. Um, yes, there's severe weather down there, San Antonio. But yeah, the CASA radars we don't get that. I mean, we get low resolution data, um, but you know we don't get any of the high resolution stuff. It would be great to, because that knocks out some of the blind spots we have, especially in the Burleson area. But we don't get that, so I'm not sure why that's not public. But yeah, as I replied on X, you'd have to ask the National Weather Service. That may be terms from UMass. I'm not sure. Mary, yeah, we'll get some rain for a while. We'll get rain. I would say at least through. I mean, what is it now? It's about 10 o'clock, so at least through midnight, probably. After midnight, we may be clearing some of this out, but more showers and thunderstorms are possible tomorrow morning. There may be some storms out there when we wake up in the morning, and maybe some more tomorrow afternoon, and just on from there, just kind of off and on storms. Thursday and Friday looked dry, but now I can't keep storm chances out of the forecast. Looks like, again, we may just have some more little pop-up storms. I'm watching those days, though, because I've gone back and forth. One of those days, the storms may stay north of us, but it's close enough to where I couldn't totally rule it out. And then Saturday through at least Monday, Tuesday, probably have more showers and thunderstorms. But again, enjoy it now, because it won't be long before we get into that that summer pattern. Southern pattern, I guess, Freudian slip. But that summer pattern where we're not going to be getting rain at all. It's just going to dry up. Nicole, nothing severe for Waxahachie tonight. I don't think they're going to see damaging hail down near Groesbeck and Mejia. That's most likely going to be smaller hail, I would think. That's probably what we're looking at. Now I'm hearing the rain here at the studio. And it's funny, I posted that video of the rain and hail yesterday in front of the house, and I posted, hey, the hail here at the studio, and somebody said studio. Now I'm sure they probably, I mean, I don't have a WFAA or a Fox 4 budget to get a nice big studio. So yes, I mean, this small room is a studio. It doesn't have to be a big building, be a studio. I got to stream from somewhere, right? And that's how this is set up. So yeah, I mean, it's a humble studio, but it's a studio nonetheless. I realize some people may laugh when I use that term, but you know, it is. I have no other better word to. At our house, we call this the office, and that's kind of my vernacular. But when I talk about it outwardly, I refer to it as a studio, because most folks know this as um, the site for the live streams. So this is what we have, and we'll take another look at the Glen Heights Cyclone Port camera, and definitely seeing the winds picking up in Glen Heights. And you can see these clouds. We had the outflow come through, so we're seeing all the lightning there. As I mentioned earlier in the stream, we are hopefully soon going to have another camera up in Waxahachie. Looks like we may have conversations going on in other places as well very soon, so hoping those are fruitful. But overall, the next site will be Waxahachie, and I'll actually be able to determine the direction of those cameras, so we'll get a pretty good view of things going on, so that'll be great. And you can see, of course, some good lightning here as well. So this is our area. We have the outflow boundary moving into Ennis right now and towards Palmer and Ferris. I mean, Jacqueline, Maypearl, things are calming down in Maypearl right now. The heavier rain has moved east of there. So you'll get some more rain overnight, but not anything severe out there in Maypearl. So the heavier rain now moving into western Navarro County. Hill County still getting some rain, but things are calming down there. And kind of dry right now in Johnson County, but more rain is coming in from the west. You can see that it's cleared out in Comanche, about to clear out in Stephenville, and clearing out soon in Hamilton as well. And I've had, let's see, Chris bouncing in and out. Is anything from the south expected to make it this far up? Looks like it's moving at a NEN pattern. Chris, I'm not sure what you mean by that. Um, but if you're looking, Chris, I think what you're getting at, kind of hinting at, is the storms down near the Mahia, Groesbeck, and Fairfield area. I think those will go east of our area. I think this whole thing is pushing eastward, so I think those will probably not impact us. And if they do, they'll be weakened because there will be rain cooled air that will have moved through here. Mech Roscoe on Facebook does not seem like the storms will require Dr. Peppers or coffee. That's the thing. That's the good news is all of the heavy stuff, even the heaviest of it, is not really that severe. So if you're waiting up to see if anything crazy is going to happen, you can go to bed. It's going to um, yeah, northeast. So northeast. Yeah, I mean yeah. So the individual, and that's the thing is a lot of people get confused by that. The whole line here is moving northeast. Some of the storms are moving due north, but the whole thing is pushing in northeast. So that's why sometimes it's kind of hard to see where they're going to move farther downstream because there's two variables there. The storms themselves are moving northward, but the whole thing is moving northeastward. So it's kind of a mismatch of information almost. It's funny. I had someone. Good lightning show right now for all you camera people. Yeah, I'm sure there will be plenty of videos and pictures out there. And if you want to see the lightning, we can go back to the Cyclone Port camera there in Glen Heights. It's looking south, so we're getting a really good picture of all of this activity. Um, Somebody asked the other day about the new train hobby. I think I mentioned it on the page once or twice, and it's growing. Got what 3 cars and a locomotive at this point on the HO scale, so it's getting there. I don't plan to do a whole lot with that, but if I see a car that I like, right now I'm pretty much focused on a Southern Pacific build right now, so that's what I'm looking at. Um, Bravo on YouTube. Ooh, good lightning strike there. My goodness. Heard that one. Saw it and then heard it. Goodness. Luckily, Bravo, we don't have the large hail and damaging winds tonight. Fairly docile storms. I actually I mentioned the the train hobby. I had someone ask me the other day, you're doing trains and you're not like retired? No, I don't think you have to be retired to be a train enthusiast. I actually picked up my youngest one from children's church on Sunday, and the lady that takes care of the kids, she said he loves trains, and I said, well, I know, I do too. Uh, he goes to Fun Day school through the season, through the school season, and one of the fondest memories I have of my grandmother is that both my parents worked early in the morning up in Dallas, so we would go and we would be dropped off with my grandparents, and they would take us to school. One of the fondest memories I have is that my grandmother would take me to Fun Day school every morning, but we would go stop at the different railroad crossings near there to see if we could catch a train going through, and it was always a good time. Monica, you said it's too loud to go to sleep in Midlothian. Yeah, it's going to be a little noisy. A little noisy there. It's going to be, some of these storms are a little loud, and the winds are going to be loud too. But the good news is that there's nothing severe, so you don't have to really worry about damage too much. There's going to be some gusty winds, especially right on the leading edge of all of this. Might be some downbursts in some of these storms, but nothing too terribly intense. If you get there are some people that get some wind damage and think that it's terrible, but you also have to consider the structure. Um, Sometimes the structure that got damaged wasn't really put together all that well, right? So, um, you kind of have to think about that. On Kigsy Tail Out on YouTube, my dad had a huge N gauge layout on a whole bedroom growing up. Engines were all SP, and my dad's wasn't retired. Yeah, so yeah, that's the thing, is you don't necessarily have to be retired to get into the whole model trains thing. I have some N gauge. They're so tiny though. It's hard to get a whole lot of detail there. I'm always impressed, but I like the HO. It's a little more. It's a little bigger. It seems like it's a little easier to interact with. Alyssa Ray, there's gusty winds in Ennis right now, but no severe weather. Looking a little closer at our area here, we're definitely looking at heavy rain rolling into the Ennis area. Gusty winds. The gusty winds are probably going to be the most notable out of all of that, but nothing severe at this point. Ashley, yes, it does look loud in Ovilla right now. That's where the storms are moving through. You got some heavy storms there, but nothing severe. That's the good news. Not looking at anything too terribly intense there. We'll go back to the Glen Heights camera. That'll kind of give you a look at what we're seeing in the Ovilla area, because we're looking south from there. Probably going to see we've seen some cloud to ground lightning, some CGs out of this. We'll keep this camera up for a little bit. It's kind of hard to see. We got some raindrops on the camera there. We need a little windshield wiper on the camera. And, just kind of clear that stuff out. Need to see if Keith Moore can climb up there and, I'm sure he would just be giddy as heck to do that. See if I get a text message here in a minute. But plenty of lightning in these storms. And like I said, there's going to be a lot more bark than bite. Yes. Roberto, I've seen your messages about the noise in Groesbeck and Mejia. There's definitely some loud storms down there, but they are not severe. Danielle, major rain and lightning in Oak Leaf. Lightning map showed strikes right by me. Yeah, I mean, there's going to be plenty of lightning in some of these storms. There's a good one. There's going to be plenty of lightning in these storms. There's going to be gusty winds, a lot of lightning, but the bark will not be as bad as the bite. That's the good news. Lots of heavy rain, but not looking at any severe weather. And yeah, Kixie tail out. I mean, I just have literally on a shelf. I mean, I don't even have a whole layout right now. I don't know if I would even get there necessarily. It's just a static display at this point. Yeah, not doing a whole lot of coverage with that. Windy and heavy rain in Blooming Grove. Yeah, the Blooming Grove area just got just now getting the rain there in western Navarro County. So Navarro County had kind of had to wait a little while, but the rain is finally in that area. So yeah, I mean, you can see here that there are a lot of lightning strikes. And going towards Glen Heights right now, we're seeing a little bit of pink there near Oakleaf. Again, the gusty winds, there's that outflow boundary. That's what you're going to see. Not rotating winds, it's all straight line winds here. And I don't think that we're seeing any hail in that little core there. But, I mean, there could be, I suppose. It's possible. Um, Erase that off of there. Let me try that again. No, I don't want it to be that big. But there could be some hail in that little core there. Maybe some small hail, but really not much. Waxahachie's getting some rain. Really, Waxahachie's about to start cooling down, calming down. Well, both, really. But Waxahachie is going to get a break, and then we have some more rain back behind it. There are some lightning indications here, but this is probably... I doubt there's a whole lot of cloud to ground lightning in this stuff behind the main line. It's probably more of just the cloud to cloud lightning with the rumbles of thunder. So that's probably more of what we're looking at on the backside. Yeah, it's going to be windy. That's the thing is it's going to be windy, but the good news is it's not going to be severe winds. It's not going to be, those 60 to 70 mile per hour winds that we have to be too terribly worried about. Noisy storms down between in the Grosbeck area for sure. And yeah, they're going to be noisy. They're going to make some noise there, but I don't expect them to be severe. That's the thing. These storms are going to sound worse than they really are. Whole lot of bark, not a whole lot of bite. Yeah, we'll have storms in Crowley later tonight, but nothing severe. Just noisy garden variety storms. Peyton, you're asking about Grandview. Everything's calming down in Grandview, so everything is past there. A lot of these areas, most of our area at this point right now is behind the heaviest part of the storm. If you're behind the leading edge stuff, you may get some more rain tonight, but it's going to be just kind of lower rumbles. Yeah, so winds picking up near M House. The winds are definitely going to be picking up as we go through Navarro County. That's that outflow boundary is moving through there. Got those storms moving through. Moving up into the Mejia area, a very loud storm, but not as severe at this point. The Arlington area, definitely some noisy storms there, but it'll be clearing out of there very soon. Not a whole lot going on at this point. There's some good thunder from that. Haven't heard a lot of thunder up here at the studio, so I was kind of waiting for it. Yeah, loud in Glen Heights. I believe it. That's um, definitely, yeah, plenty of heavy rain in Glen Heights right now. This is that cyclone port camera. We'll have one in Waxahachie soon, but yeah, we're going to see a lot of lightning up there in this storm with in that area. It's going to be a noisy, noisy one. Um, but as I've mentioned, the bark is worse than the bite. These are not severe storms. They're going to sound worse than they are. So I'm not too terribly concerned about their impact across the area. Not expecting a whole lot of damage, anything like that. Now, if there are loose outdoor items, or if there are, if you have, I would say, I don't want to say poorly constructed, but not terribly sturdy outdoor structures. Some of those might be a little bit of a mess, but other than that, that should be about it. This is looking south over in Glen Heights. This is, of course, this camera itself is up at the City Hall. You're looking at the community center there immediately in front of it. Um, got a neat light show to the southwest of Gun Barrel City. You've got storms coming your way, but the good news is they are not expected to be severe. Plenty of rain out here, and yes, somebody mentioned Victor and Rebecca Sepsion. Yeah, it's the ground is very saturated, so flooding may be I haven't really talked a whole lot about flooding, but since really the top of the broadcast, but flooding may be an issue in those areas where the ground is very saturated from all of the activity we got yesterday. So that may be a concern in those areas. Renee said the floats in your swimming pool, just remembered them. Oof, that's that's rough. Hopefully those aren't too far away. I remember a friend of mine was getting floats out of the pool during a storm, and he literally uh, went down to grab a float, and then it blew on him like at his face as a storm was coming through. So uh, that was a fun video to watch. His wife must have known something was going to happen because she just managed to catch it. Had a pretty good downburst in Gun Barrel City. So that's the thing. I was hearing that there were some downburst winds over there. Heard some pretty dramatic reports of damage, but I checked radar. I didn't see anything that would be evidence of anything too far beyond maybe 30, 40 mile per hour winds. So, I don't know. There are other questions that kind of go into, some of the damage and trying to factor that in. But I did hear that there were some, along and east of I-45, there were some nastier storms out there. Ashley hitting us in between Mahia and Groesbeck. Yeah, that's a noisy storm down there, but it's not severe. That's the good news. Stronger winds just now arriving in Corsicana area. I know we've been promoted, and I've been on the air there on 106.9 The Ranch down in the Navarro County area, Navarro, Corsicana, Mahia, Fairfield, that area. And so if you're in the Ranchtropolis, I will tell you that you do have storms headed your way if they're not there already. We can kind of look at that area, and there are some noisy storms, but the good news is they're not severe. So a little bit of noise there in the Ranchtropolis, but the good news is that I think the severe weather will stay south of us, further down into the hill country. It was good thunder. Let's see, that was probably. See if a lightning strike pops up closer. That might have been that lightning strike out towards Ike, because I'm over in this area. So that was probably that lightning strike towards the Ike area that we just heard. But we'll put on the motion here. There is more rain to the west, and we will get some more rain overnight tonight. More storms are possible tomorrow. It won't be this widespread, but we could have some more storms in the area through the day tomorrow, especially tomorrow afternoon. We could wake up to storms tomorrow morning as well. So it's kind of hard to necessarily call. Um, it's the same pattern that we've been stuck with, right? Man, that one's even closer. Definitely noisy here at the studio. We got this new little storm that popped up, and that's going to be the really the trend here. Is we have the outflow boundary, and the farther east it goes, there's going to be new little storms that pop up with it. That's kind of the trend that we're looking at with this complex. Is it's not one persistent line; it's outflow that is creating storms as it goes. So that's kind of the pattern that we're looking at least as far as our area. There are heavier storms down in Limestone County here. Um, the Mejia Groesbeck area, also towards Fairfield, looking at some heavier storms with a lot of lightning and thunder. So they're very noisy, but not severe at this point. Flooding may be an issue there in Groesbeck because there's a lot of heavy rain and that storm isn't moving terribly quickly. So that area, and you've had a lot of rain there too already. So that area may have some concerns as far as flooding is to be um, considered. So keep that in mind if you are in the Groesbeck Mejia area, that flooding could be a problem there. Man, we're seeing a lot of lightning in the Glen Heights area. Hard to see through the camera through all of the little raindrops there. But this is the Cyclone Port camera from the city of Glen Heights. And just seeing a whole lot of lightning on the radar there. Not seeing evidence of power outages at this point. I thought we saw maybe a couple of lights flicker just a few minutes ago with a pretty big lightning strike. But I don't think we've received any reports of power outages at this point. I will tell you my battery backup just activated, so it must have sensed something, and there's some thunder. So there must have been a lightning strike close enough. Well, there's one. Not terribly close though. Well, that's down the road for sure, just south of Rocket. So battery backup sensed something, and that has kicked on now. So we're good to go. Uh, good to go if anything happens to the power here. It will at least keep part of this setup going. May lose a monitor or two, but we can operate. The rain moving into Hillsboro right now, that's going to be lighter rain. Still some thunder mixed in with that, but not as intense as what's on the leading edge of this. That's the thing, is once you get past the leading storms here, it's lighter activity. Probably still some gusty winds. I mean, I think it's going to be windy probably most of the night as this thing goes through, but nothing severe. That's the good news. Nothing severe tonight. I know that we usually reserve live coverage for those severe events, but we've had a lot of storms coming through recently, and folks were asking where the live coverage was. So I thought I would try out a little more low drama stream is what I was going to say there. Just heard my wife has declared tomorrow is cleanup day. I think I might have a meeting tomorrow. I don't know. I'll have to, if anybody needs me at a meeting, I might have to go to that. So if you're watching down in the Groesbeck Mahia area, there is a very noisy storm there, just about covering all of Limestone County right now, most of it at least, moving into Freestone County, possibly southern Navarro County here. That is a very loud storm, but the good news is it's not a severe storm at this point. Whole lot more bark than bite. There may be some flooding issues, I would say, especially Lake Limestone here. Though that area, be careful there because there's been a lot of heavy rain and it's going to continue. So any of those little waterways there in Limestone County, any of those urban areas too, be careful about the flooding in that area. Um, yeah, so I know there's tornadoes farther south, but since we don't cover that, I haven't really mentioned it here. Yeah, so there's tornado warnings down towards the San Antonio area, but fortunately that's much farther south than here. Not looking at severe weather for our area. Brandon, yeah, I mean flooding is possible. The good news is that this stuff is not it's moving at a decent pace, right? So the problem is that we do have some we do have some areas that are, I would say, more the ground is more saturated from yesterday's rain, especially central Ellis County. My goodness, Waxahachie had all kinds of flooding issues yesterday. So that's definitely something to be considered there. I mean, as we go through the rest of tonight, more rain is possible overnight. So flooding is going to be really my only concern for our area as far as dangerous weather is concerned, because um, we got some areas got some very saturating rains yesterday, really the last couple of days. And then we had the heavier rain come through in this first round, and then there's more rain, as you can see behind it. So we could have some flooding issues overnight. The good news is that we're not looking at the kind of rain rates we saw yesterday. I only have, 1,700 of an inch here. And in this time with the storm yesterday, I mean, it was what did I say it was yesterday? A 4 inch per hour rain rate, which is crazy. But it's just nuts, just nuts. So the good news is tonight we're not looking at those kind of rain rates, but there are areas, like I mentioned, down in Limestone County is one, where there's just a ton of very heavy rain falling. And you have to pay attention to that, especially those more saturated areas. So the storms that are moving through our area right now are not severe. The most intense activity right now is down south of our area, down in Limestone and Freestone counties. Can't rule out some small hail there, but tons of lightning in that storm, tons of heavy rain. And for our particular area, the really the most intense part about this whole thing has been the gusty winds, but it's not anything severe at this point. We have kind of dodged the severe weather bullet. We weren't really under the threat for that today, and it's farther south of us in the San Antonio area, up to about really anywhere south of Waco. Has been getting some flooding warnings, some severe thunderstorm warnings, a few tornado warnings down near San Antonio as well. So definitely much worse conditions down farther south. But the good news is for our area, we're not really looking at any kind of intensity. Like I said, The way these storms are working, there's a whole lot more bark than bite. And Lillian, thank you so much for the Cash App. Greatly appreciated. Brandon said you were driving back from Corpus yesterday, so you hadn't realized how much rain we. Yeah, this past weekend we got a lot of rain across our area, and we have needed a really good soaking rain. We didn't need it all in 1 hour, but I mean we needed a good soaking rain to help catch us up from being behind for 2 quarters. So that was the good news. Timothy, yeah, Richland Chambers going to get hit with some heavy rain. Lightning, thunder, that good stuff. Not anything severe, but it's going to be noticeable for sure. There is no argument there. It's going to be a fairly noisy storm. All of this behind us too, moving into Hillsborough and Johnson County here. There are some lightning strikes here, but I imagine those are probably, mostly in the clouds. There's probably more lightning flashes than anything, rumbles of thunder, that sort of thing. This is this is sleeping weather. This is that's ambient noise right there. That's all that is. Like I say, hopefully that doesn't contribute to any flooding issues overnight. The good news is that it's not terribly heavy rain, so it's not not going to be the kind of crazy rain rates we saw yesterday. So the heaviest activity right now, like I said, south of Corsicana, down in the Mejia Grosbeck area, but it does look like that's gradually weakening. It doesn't look as intense. If anything, it's just kind of several storms all kind of came together. And there's still a little bit of pink there, so there might still be some small hail with that storm. But yeah, I mean, if you're in Wortham, if you're in Streetman, up in the Corsicana Kearns area too, right there on Richland Chambers, you've got some heavy rain. You got some lightning thunder coming your way. Maybe some little pockets of small hail. Probably hard to even notice it. But it's going to get noisy there. There's going to be some heavy storms. But the good news is that I don't foresee anything severe happening tonight. So if you dealt with a lot of flooding yesterday and you've got a very saturated area and you're about to get some heavy rain, that would be worth watching. But the good news is this gets ready to cross I-45, not seeing severe weather. It's just going to be more heavy rain, and we you know what, we have been asking for it. We have been praying for it. It's just unfortunately sometimes in north central Texas we get it all at once. So that's just kind of the way that goes sometimes, unfortunately. All of the more severe weather, all of the really intense stuff is down in the San Antonio area. So uh, much farther south than here. We will let them keep it. We don't want that up here. We want to break from severe weather chances. Of course, we had a lot of severe weather chances in our area that just didn't pan out this season. And folks get upset that we forecasted the possibility of severe weather and it didn't happen. And look, I mean, if you really want to talk to your insurance adjuster that much, I'm sure love to get a phone call from you. But other than that, I mean, it is what it is. It's not really too great a concern. If it's what I want to say there, if it's not too great a concern, that's a good thing. People forget that. People forget that you're fortunate that you didn't get severe weather. There's a lot of people that love a good severe storm and they're entertained by it. And I mean, that's one thing. But yeah, it's if you don't get severe weather, you're fortunate. And we've been very fortunate this season to miss out on some of the events that we thought were going to be much more intense. Ryan Harris, storms are moving the wrong way again. I don't know what you mean by that. South to north or southwest to northeast storms are not that uncommon for our area. Now, if they were moving westward, that, I would say that's maybe a little more unique, but south to north is not terribly uncommon. So I'm going to tell you guys, I'm going to go ahead, I think, and wrap up. Cedar Creek Lake has rain coming. You guys definitely have rain coming to you. I'm going to go ahead and wrap up live coverage here. I had to go to an early start today, and I am going to save my energy for tomorrow. Like I said, there's nothing severe. I will keep monitoring this, but, it's going to give me a chance to kind of kick back and sit back and relax a little bit. Still got more storms to come. I got to pace myself because we have more storm chances the rest of the week. So we're in a pretty persistent pattern here. So kind of trying to, pace myself a little bit here. But, I thought we would try a less formal broadcast. It's been fun. Just under, just about 2 hours and 20 minutes. But like I say, that early start this morning, I am slowing down for sure. And, but I'll continue to post updates on Facebook and X and Instagram. So make sure you're following us there for the more periodic updates. But thank you so much. I appreciate everyone that tuned in here. I would go longer, on this stream, but I am beat. It's been a kind of a long day. I'm ready to get some rest, and like I say, I'm going to keep myself rested, try to pace myself a little bit, as we go into more storm chances over the next several days. So thank you for tuning in. Nothing severe tonight. Enjoy the rain. More updates are to come throughout the evening.
Something shimmering in your eyes, and they say if you want to glimpse the future you need space, and you said you'll put down your morning guns. Would you follow me to wonders? Take my hand and walk beside me in a world of thunder. Fear is an imposter. When you look at me this way, I find it hard to not give in. So the days became weeks, it felt just like the night before.